I'm here to share about a topic matter that is very close to my heart, that I really love doing, and that is travel. And I'm sure it's something that many of us over here love to do as well. So just show me a few hands out here. How many of you love traveling? Oh, that's a lot of people out here. And maybe this is also a really good opportunity for me to talk about travel, because many of us are planning our year-end vacations. And maybe we are going to think a little bit deeper about the way that we travel. How many of you are already planning your vacations? Oh, good. Maybe at the end of today we can talk about how it's going to change the way we see travel and the way that we are going to be experiencing travel. That is Janine. I'm a tourism practitioner, a tourism educator, and now a tourism consultant. It has always been my passion. I'm an advocate of tourism. I've always been saying more, and much more tourism. I've inspired lots of people to be practitioners of this tourism industry, because the growth of tourism to me was always been a wonderful experience. Today I'm not here to talk about those wonderful things that I've done for tourism, but I'm here to talk about something that I've done wrong while being in this tourism industry. What is this wrong that I've been doing? I think I've been romanticizing tourism a bit too much. This shift in my mindset and the way I look at tourism took place about 2 years ago when I went for an academic conference. And I would say this was a real important change and shift in my life and the way I view tourism. There were two speakers, and they were really wonderful keynote speeches that had a very important shift in the way I was looking at. The first one was by a very charismatic speaker, UNWTO Secretary General, Dr. Refai. A very passionate, a very inspiring speech. He talked about the wonderful things about tourism, the 1 billion tourists that were traveling in the year 2013, and how they were contributing towards major economic development of especially the developed countries. He was talking about how tourism is tourism is a savior to especially the poor nations. That tourism is an important export earner and a major source of employment, and things like this that we already know. The next one was a really controversial one, and a very unconventional thought. To many of us who were sitting down as an audience, and Professor Stefan Gosling from the London University was actually talking about something which is the opposite of what Dr. Talit Rafai was talking. He basically was saying that the way that we travel, and he issued a stern warning that if we continue to travel and unchecked, unexploitative growth of tourism is going to be detrimental towards the sustainability of our planet. And he actually advocated for less rather than more global tourism. It was something very different to what we have always been thinking about tourism. Many evidence and data to prove his point, and very informed talk, I would say. And many of these things I'm not going to be giving you the statistics and evidence, because if we look really, really carefully, the evidence is all around us. It's being a major culprit in carbon emission. And if you take first class, you're worse. Those of us in economy are a lot better, I guess. The huge demands of tourists today, asking for huge hotels, resorts, theme parks, has led to a deforestation and loss of biodiversity that we will never ever get back again. This Titanics that we see, the large cruise liners that are floating around, the amount of pollution and sewage that they are dumping into the ocean has destroyed the marine life. And again, some of these we will never see again. And not forgetting the impacts that we have on the host communities. Our unethical behaviors when we go out there and impose ourselves and intrude into the privacy of many of the indigenous people, and they have changed their lives forever. Now when he finished speaking, and he says, why not? Let's travel this, because we may arrive at a certain point in our lives in the future where, having destroyed all this that we see around, we may experience an emotional anguish when we see the bleaching of the corals in the Great Barrier Reef. We may have a sudden realization and a pang that the glaciers are gone in the Rocky Mountains. And when we arrive at that point, perhaps we may feel that crisis and anxiety to maybe stop traveling or even travel less. So he said, why not do it now? I know it's uncomfortable for many of us who've already booked our trips. Huh? And for many of us who sat there, it was a very, very disturbing silence and a very uncomfortable thought. But I think it was a very, very good point. I think it was a tipping point for many of us been in the industry for a bit too long. We have, I think, failed to be original thinkers, maybe. And it started to make me reflect and think really about tourism, the truth. What is the truth about tourism? Is it really a white knight, a pious hope that each and every one of us is clinging to and thinking and imagining about the positive contributions that we are making to the tourism industry, especially to the poorer developing nations? Or is it a Trojan horse, a time bomb that is ticking away into a sustainable future for you and I? Is it really truly development that we are experiencing and that we are creating for especially the developing nations? Or is it a disaster? A disaster where maybe pretty soon, very soon, we are going to mourn a paradise lost. So, maybe we just pause it a little while here. Let us look at this picture and perhaps reflect that has any one of us sat on these beaches, very mindlessly on one of these beaches, maybe in Phuket, Pattaya, Bali, maybe Gold Coast, and completely oblivious to the beach erosions, the environmental degradation that we see on these beaches, totally mindless and just enjoying the activities and the motorized sports that continue into degrading the environment. Has anyone been here hugging a koala because it's so cute? I think I have. I have been very ignorant and many times in my life as a tourist and a travel planner. But we hug them, we pinch them, we hold them, and we don't think twice about the trauma that they may go through in your arms. Just imagine ourselves being manhandled by 100, just one of us being a dolphin there, being pinched. How would we feel? Maybe we have to start thinking about that. Have we been a part of a group of tourists or a backpacker going into the villages of indigenous people, gazing at the other, and being judgmental about them, their lifestyle, their appearance, and maybe even their poverty? And feeling a pity as if that's bad life. When I saw this piece of news, it broke my heart. I wept for these people out there. This is so wrong in our tourism industry, because no society in our planet should undergo this in the name of tourism. What have we done? Have we really loved the world so much that we're bringing death and destruction to the very resources that we love? I spoke about this in one conversation at home, and my nephew sits out there, and Nihal is out there, and I told him, is it true? Is it true that we are loving our resources in the world to death? And he said, yeah, but alas, love is blind. Truly, is love really blind? Or are we just burying our heads in denial, defending our very actions that is destroying our world? We need to really think about this. Are we really in denial and defending our actions? And those of us who already fear, then there are unethical marketers who exploit our fear. And surely they are going to drive these places to disappear sooner than what you think. Now, I'm not saying all is bad, because there are tourism organizations out there, UNWTO, international conventions, they're out there looking at how we could develop tourism responsibly. There is a notion of sustainable tourism out there, but I feel that any form of tourism, there's no form of tourism truly sustainable. And maybe the only sustainable option is for us to stay at home. But again, that's impractical and unrealistic. We can't do that. So what do we do? What do we do? We have a choice. We have a right to make our choice at the moment. To ruin the only planet that we have, or to be responsible in embracing a commitment to preserving the web of life. We have the choice to make, and I've made this choice today, to be here. And it's said that we cannot change the problems of the world with the same way of thinking that really created them. It's not about the changing the outer behaviors. I feel it is about a shift in our inner consciousness, about the inner values that we have towards the resources and the world. And the outer problems of the world is a manifestation of an inner crisis. And a transition towards a sustainable world is when we can move and shift our inner consciousness to something I feel is spiritual. Maybe we should shift our romantic gaze of tourism to what I call a spiritual gaze. I would like to just clarify here that spirituality is different from religion, because religion is an organized body of faith. It's a governed set of doctrines. But spirituality is a little deeper than that. It is our connection within ourselves, the people around us, and the world that is around us as well. It is about a personal belief, it's a personal belief of ours, a deep consciousness about what we believe in and what we want for ourselves. And I feel that spirituality and the gaze, it's along three dimensions. We can adopt it along three dimensions when we travel. First is to appreciate the interconnectedness of the ecological resources and the social resources that is around us. Number two is to seek a personal meaning and purpose and rethink about why we are traveling. And number three, to feel love and passion for humanity and the ecological system that is surrounding us. Let me go to the first one, interconnectedness. Now, interconnectedness is about our emotional bond with the ecosystem and the human society. It is about a mutual interdependence that we may feel that if we continue to exploit, then that will be detrimental to our survival as humanity. And maybe as tourists, what we could do, you and I, is for a beginning, we could stop, maybe reduce the wastage of water, the wastage of our food at our buffet tables. We can say no to souvenirs made from animal parks. Maybe we should walk more than drive in these destinations and reduce the carbon emissions. I see some people smiling. Not something that we're used to in Singapore. Well, second is to reevaluate the purpose of why we are traveling. What is it that we really want for the holistic development of us and our children when we travel? Is it about the lavish indulgence in the huge resorts, which are mindless experiences? Or is it about staying in a homestay, engaging and connecting with the people and learning about their culture, and in return giving something reciprocal as we connect with these people? Maybe we should go out there and support countries like Sri Lanka and plant trees and see that when we come back, see how the trees have grown. It is about joining the banyan trees and cleaning the corals as we travel and feeling that when we come back, we have done something for these nations and not just taken experiences and their resources with us. Maybe that would be a little bit more meaningful. The next is to feel love and compassion. Love and compassion for the world around us, the humanity. That when we go, it is about mutual respect that we have for the communities that we are engaging with. It is about respecting them and not being judgmental. It's about saying no with TripAdvisor to attractions that demonstrate cruelty against animals. It's about having a commitment and realization to say that I am not taking away anything, including the dignity of the people that I am engaging with. I feel that if we perhaps think very carefully about these three dimensions, maybe we may be on our roads to a sustainable future. Many of us maybe are already in the process, and in the future we might be thinking about leaving an inheritance in terms of a material wealth for the next generation. What about a spiritual will, an ethical will, as part of the human race, that we leave something behind and pass it on to our next generation? What about that when we make our next will? Because we do not inherit our earth from our ancestors, mind you. We are borrowing it from our children, and we don't want them to be at a loss. I've taken a moral courage and an ethical vision to be here in front of you and to think and access my deeper inner consciousness about what I want to do for the next generation. The world is beautiful, and I think it can continue being beautiful, and the next generation can experience a beautiful world just like you and I. For that, may I invite you, each and every one of you, to join me in this spiritual journey towards a sustainable future for our next generation and a better world for the generation and generations after to experience. I thank you.